and welcome to A VO's Journey. My name is Anthony Pica. This show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all of the crazy things that I seem to step on. It is great to be live. It is Monday, the first Monday of December, and I have to tell you, I am super excited because I love the holiday season. And yes, we just got done with a crazy weekend full of all sorts of shopping and craziness, but it was really nice because for me, my wife got to stay home for the week, and that was a lot of fun. I still had to work, but that is one of the joys of working from home. So I was very excited. It was very nice, and I am thrilled to be back at it this morning. Been super busy. And today, our topic comes from a voice actor who's a friend of mine, and he was talking to me, and we got into this conversation, and I thought it would be a good idea. He asked me to talk about it, so I decided to go ahead. And today's topic is how to come up with a voice actor rate card. This is one of those things I think right now is always will be a hot topic and something that I like to talk about, but a lot of people are nervous to talk about. So I'm glad that we're going to discuss it today, and I've got kind of about 5 or 6 different points to come up with you. I planned ahead for this one because I wanted to give you the most value possible. But the first thing is I'm sure you do know, but if you happen to not know and you're just beginning at this game of voiceover, a rate card is like our prices. It is what we charge. It is a graph, a document, a chart. It's something that outlines the monetary prices of the work that we do, as well as the licensing of our work, of our intellectual property, or also how much we charge perhaps for our time, like in a studio session, etc. It's really, 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 really important to understand rate cards and what they mean and why you should have one no matter what platform you're on. I find a lot of new beginners get on platforms like ACX and Fiverr, which I recommend to start at. But because of that, those platforms do such a good job of making it super simple for you to not have to come up with a rate card or with your prices. They kind of outline how much you could charge. Like on ACX, you can do like 0 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 400, and then 400 to 1,000. And then they also have royalty share and royalty share plus and all these different things. But the point is they lay it out for you, and all you have to do is go in and choose which one or where you want to audition for, and it's pretty much set in stone based on what you and the author agree upon. Okay, and on Fiverr, it's pretty straightforward when it comes to what the majority of people on Fiverr charge for the trending rates. I mean, even the title of Fiverr is Fiverr, so it makes a lot of sense that people would start on that platform for $5. But that's, of course, as we know, that's not where things are trending on Fiverr. But the point is that those two platforms make it super simple for us to come up with prices. But because of that, I think we've kind of gotten out of this the habit of thinking about our business from a standpoint of a business when it comes to pricing. So I want to talk about why it's important to have a rate card. First off, I know you know this, but I'm going to tell you anyways. A business is supposed to make money, right? We know that. Remember, a hobby takes your money. A business makes money. And in order to make money, we have to know how much our operating expenses are, how much it costs to do all of this, our time, our equipment, the electricity, the space, all of these things. We must know how much it costs so that we can then price our work accordingly. And I'm going to talk more later on in this session about how to come up with the prices for your rate card. But that's super important to know what your costs are Because if you are not charging enough to cover your costs, that's not a business you're running. You're just running a hobby. And if you want to run a business and you want to become a full-time business owner, you have to have a firm grasp on that. Okay? So that is why, the first reason why it's super important, I think, to have a rate card. The next reason also is because consistency. I know all of you who are across multiple platforms like I am, as well as have some customers that are not through platforms, but they're, personal clients that you have. It can get challenging sometimes, right? To go from one person to a platform like on Fiverr and then Voice 123 or Voice Realm or, Freelancer or Upwork, and all of these different prices across all these different platforms and different people and all of this stuff. It can be challenging because it's very tempting to go from one platform where we charge very little to another platform where people are willing to pay us more, and then we charge a bunch more, all right? And it feels good to get that. But at the same time, we are starting to create this lack of consistency in our business. So it's very, very important that we stay consistent across all channels with our work. I do want to have a quick caveat about this, though. There are some channels, or some platforms, that specifically make you charge, something that is out of your control. Like, for example, the Voice Realm, which I love the Voice Realm. It's a pay-to-play site, but it's something that, is I've been getting good business on and good paying business. They have their own rates. I'm on Voice Jungle too. They have their own rates. It's okay to be on those platforms with those platforms controlling the rates if that's what they do. That's fine if you choose to be on it. Okay? But the platforms that don't choose the rates for you and you come up with them, you need to be consistent. Now, I'm going to give you a story why. I remember, and some of you have heard this, but I remember way back when I was first starting out and a customer contacted me. I should have understood then, but I didn't because I was new. But what they had done, and by the way, this happens a lot. They went on Fiverr, they found me, then they went off of Fiverr into Google, searched my name, found me, found my website, messaged me because they didn't want to work on Fiverr because they didn't want to pay the extra money. And when they asked me through an email what my prices were, I quoted them a lot higher, more industry standard rates as opposed to what I was charging on Fiverr. And then they came back to me and said, hey, you charge this much on Fiverr, but you're charging this much over here. You're trying to scam us. And I never heard from them again. Now, I learned a valuable lesson at that moment, right? I mean, don't take customers as suckers, because they're not. And more importantly, I had a completely inconsistent experience for that customer and I never saw them again. Okay? And I don't want you to go through the same thing. So make sure if you charge something on Fiverr, my suggestion is you charge the same thing somewhere else. I do. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, that's your prerogative. But I can tell you, it's going to catch up to you eventually. Now, you might say, hey, but Anthony, I charge this much over here, but on Fiverr, I charge down here because that's the platform. I understand. But I recommend that you figure out how your price structure works when it comes to per words. We're going to go over this in a second. Per words, etc., plus broadcast rights, plus all this other things, and see if there's not some sort of middle, meaning that, if you charge like $20 for, for 100 words, and then on Fiverr, but plus broadcast rights and commercial rights, it ends up being $100. Well, then maybe on your website for 100 words, you charge $100 for the full use of your work. Right? Because then that equals up, but you're still charging more, but at the same time, you're not really charging more. You're just making sure that everything is added in, where on Fiverr, they have the opportunity to, be like, for example, nonprofit or people who are not using it for any purpose other than educational purposes. Okay? So there's just things that you need to think about. All right? Okay, so let's go into, enough of that. Let's go into how to format a rate card, okay? There's many different ways, but I like to keep it simple. So here's the way I want to tell you. The straight and easy way I like to do it is by word count / time. So some people like to do straight up time, all right? Basically meaning that there's a couple of different ways to price our work. One meaning that we can charge people based on a session fee, meaning that the amount of time we are going to be recording their voiceover. So that's why when you go to some sites like Upwork, etc., they have the actual like an hour, what's your hourly rate? Okay? But it's deceiving if you don't understand, because an hourly rate could be we could be paid $50 or $100 for an hourly session. That now you could spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes recording, but it's still based on an hour. That will be what you're automatically paid. However, then you charge for the licensing of your work. Okay? And this is how it's generally supposed to be done, or let me rephrase. This is how things used to be done pretty much everywhere before all of, I believe, the access of social media and the entire world started giving its 2 cents in. All right, but this is, and it's still done this way in wider markets, especially in radio and TV and in social media, depending on the company. Because when you do a voiceover, it's technically your intellectual property. You own it. Someone licenses the work, your voice, from you. Okay, so that is one way to price your work. Another way to price your work is simply based on words. Okay, or the time it takes for the specific finished recording. This kind of came from, I believe, it definitely bled over from audiobook narration. In my opinion, it has become so popular. But in audiobook narration, you know what I mean? Yes, there are people who do per books, but it's mostly per finished hour is how that's charged, or e-learning, right? Per finished minute or per finished hour for audiobooks. So because of that, it's not based on how long it takes you to work on it. It's based on the per finished hour. So for us, if you're going to do words, you could do something simply like this. You could do 5 words, all right, or 2 seconds, because that's about what 5 words are, right? And then what do you charge for that? 50 words or 20 seconds, right? What do you charge for that? 500 words or 3 minutes? 50 or 5,000 words or 33 minutes, 50,000 words, 5.5 hours. You get where I'm going with this, right? You can determine based on the amount of words what you charge, and as they fall in between those numbers, that's what you charge. Now, you can see this done just like this on Fiverr, but with Fiverr, what they've done is they've come up with a whole system where people can actually type in the amount of words, and it generates, based on what you put down, the amount of money. But you know what? Voice123 has done the same thing, and many other platforms have followed suit. So this is a great way for you to price your rate card as well. But it forces you to come up with solid prices. It's really important that you do this. Now, there's the other part of this, because you might be like, okay, well, that's the words, but what about if they want to use my work? You just talked about licensing. Well, broadcast rights, okay, or internet size, you can do this from the amount of people that are going to see this. And you can determine whether this is going to be a year or not. It's really not that complicated. You could just say how many words it takes me to record. Instead of me saying I'm going to charge you a flat hour rate, you could say if it's 50 words, all right, and it takes me 20 seconds, like that's the finished product, and it takes me like 5 minutes to do it, I'll charge you based on the words, not the hour, okay? But you know what I mean? I'm also going to charge you on the licensing. So what's happening in our industry is that all of us in the jockeying around with websites, with agents, with casting sites, with agents themselves and freelancers or entrepreneurs or people who are working by themselves. We are taking all of these terms and we're cramming them together and we're creating different ways to price it. When in reality, we're just, we're eliminating a vocabulary word over here, we're sticking something over here, we're increasing over here and decreasing over here. So it's causing a big mess among all of us when we're changing everything around. But in this particular scenario, when we're doing the apps, like the words, we can add broadcast and like internet size or something, right? So like you could say, all right, well, all my work is licensed for a year. That's my standard. And from that, 10,000 people, I charge this, and this is the audience size that they can expect to show it to. 100,000 people, I charge this. 1 million people, I charge this. 10 million, 100 million, etc. You can come up with those prices as part of your broadcast rights. Now, on sites like Fiverr, they have not broken it down so much for us. They've left it up to us to know all of that and understand that. Okay, but a lot of new beginners have no clue about how that all works. They just see a vocabulary word. They understand what Fiverr says it is. Okay, and I'm just using Fiverr as an example of a big machine that's driving a new way of pricing. Okay, so it's confusing to understand what our intellectual property is. And on top of that, because there's so many freelancers and entrepreneurs or solopreneurs like us, we're not dealing with, we're not always dealing anymore with super large companies or companies that have big marketing budgets, which means that if I'm doing a voiceover for, Joe's Mechanics and it's just Joe, all right, and he wants to use my work, that's going to be, something that is different than working with, a big company like, Ford, Ford dealerships, or you know what I mean? Like so why that's important is because people are choosing to work with people with smaller budgets nowadays and not charging them these monstrous rates based on licensing for the size and et cetera. Plus, most people can't even figure that out, right? A lot of new beginnings, new people in business, they don't know if it's going to reach 1 million people. They hope so, but they have no clue because they post it on their social media, but they don't they don't pay for an ad. Point I'm getting with all this is that this is why it's so important for us to have a rate card and to understand what all of this means and to have it written down so that we can also explain it to people when they want it, when they need to know it, when customers ask, and to help them understand and to educate them. Here's the thing that ties it all together. In the end, all right, when I'm going to go to the rate card, next thing we're going to go about how to come up with the actual prices, in my opinion. In the end, all of this still is determined upon you. Unless you're on a site that determines it for you, or you're with an agency that determines it for you. Do you see what I mean? The big issue is there are people like me now who are working on their own, and I'm determining my own prices. It's when I say issue, that's what's causing all of the friction, is that you have new businesses, because I'm a business, and as a new business, I'm determining what my costs are. If my costs are X, right? If my costs are X, and then this is what I want to make for profit, okay? But other people are telling me that I need to charge up here or I need to charge down here because that's the way they believe it should be charged. But my business numbers and what I'm trying to create tells me I need to charge right here. Well, it's up to me to decide what I'm going to do. Okay? Now let's talk about how to do the price your rate card. And I think there are 3 different ways that I think of. Okay, well, the first way is the industry standard way. And this is where you have like the rate card from the GVAA, right? The website. Love the site. It's really great. A lot of resources, and it's a great guide. And it's become a default industry standard type of guide. And I think it's a great place for you to go to and check out and know. Okay, it's important for you to know what people across the board are kind of standardized, that's standardized. Okay, but at the same time, it's also important to know some other ways that are being used to come up with rates. For example, like I just mentioned, the second way would be your operating costs. Remember, we're in a business, which means that you've got to use your operating costs as a basis for your work, for how much you charge. Okay, now you could look at businesses, and this is important, right? Like in the restaurant business, it's said that you should try to have, or not the restaurant business, let's use like retail. Okay, a lot of times they say, you want to mark things up 300% or whatever. That's like a standard for them. And maybe is there a standard in markup for voiceover? I haven't seen the standard markup in voiceover, because the issue with standard rates is that it's standard for what? Okay, it's standard for what? Like, for example, if you go to the GVAA guide, right, and there's a standard rate, however, your operating costs are more than what it's telling you to charge, well, then that standard rate is too cheap, correct? It's not enough, and you've got to charge more. Or it's so low, like your operating costs are really low, and you don't need to charge that high, and you can still offer a great product and still make a killer profit. Why would you charge crazy rates up here when your business and the profits and what you want for the future is only telling you to charge here? So your operating costs are a way for you to determine what you absolutely must charge in order to make money and to make your business profitable. So important. All right. And then the last way to do it, I think, and this is what most people are falling into, is they are falling into what is trending on platforms. What prices are trending on platforms? That's what most of us are falling into, because we're new, we don't know these resources, we don't know where to begin. So we go on to a site like Upwork or Fiverr or any of these sites that tell us what a price is. And then because we look around and we see what's trending, what people are doing, who seems to be getting to work, what they're charging, and we start to base our prices around that, which is generally how business works in a lot of ways. Okay? But the only problem with that is once again, if your business or your needs or whatever costs X amount, you better be making enough money to not only break even, but make a profit. Or what the heck are you in business? You're not in business, you're in a hobby, right? So if you call yourself a business, we're in business to make a profit. So that's the whole point, and your pricing structure has to be set up that way. Okay, so I know I've been going crazy on this. Hopefully that's been helpful. I want to talk about the next thing is, where do you post this stuff? So basically, just real quick on the backup of those things, I guess that was 4. Did I come up with? No, 3 ways. Those 3 ways. So basically, to come up with those prices, you can use the GVAA guide to come up with that. You can use your operating costs and then determine what your markup is. So for example, if you want to earn, or if you want your or if you want the profit of your business to be a 50% profit, okay? So that means if you bring in $100,000 for a year, after all the bills, you're paid, everything is paid, including your salary, etc., and you want to have a $50,000 profit, okay, that's then what you have to take into consideration when you are building out your rate card. How do you get to that price? How many do you have to do? How many voiceovers do you have to do? What do you have to charge? Okay, hopefully you can see how this doesn't just you don't just price yourself once and then it's over with. It's got to change. It's got to adapt to the new things that you add, the new prices that you have, the new products, the new services that you offer. All right, it has to change. So that is a way, and in my personal opinion, that is the best way to price your work. Okay? And then, of course, the other way is to use platforms and see what's trending and go from there. The only issue with that is again, you are not basing it on any sound business, like any sound business numbers or costs or profits. You're basing it on, just trends. It's important to know trends so you can understand, why, like if you're charging 10 times the amount of everybody else and why you're not getting any business, well, it is important to understand the trends, right? Okay. Meanwhile, if you're charging 10 times less than everybody else and you're still not getting business, or maybe you're getting a lot of business, but you can't make money because you're charging so little that all of your time is being taken up. This happens. This happened to me, actually. I was charging a price and I was so busy, but no matter what I did, I got so busy that I couldn't make any more money because all my time was taken up. Because we are in a service business that is on my time. And unless I hired other voice actors, which I could have, and so can you, all right, if that's the business model you want in the future, okay? But I realized that unless I raised my prices, I wasn't going to make any more money because I couldn't take any more business. That's why it's so important for you to understand all of this. All right, where do you post this? Some people, you can either be fully transparent in your business model, or you can, determine that this is on a need to know basis for whether it's competition purposes, whether it's you like to be, I like to use the analogy, and you might not know this place, but there's like CarMax, which is like I don't know if you've heard of CarMax. I don't even know. I think they actually might be a publicly traded company. I think they might be. I'm not sure. But anyways, CarMax, right, is a used car seller who believes in no haggling. It's one price and that's it. You know what I mean? So you don't have to worry about haggling. The people who work there, they don't get commissions. They get paid the same no matter whether you buy something or not. So they're not incentivized to, trick you or try to oversell you. You know what I'm saying? So like it's either CarMax or it's a dealership where they haggle you with prices, where you can change, it's up to them what they determine to change the price on. You can be that person or the other person or that business or the other business. It's really up to you whether you want to post it or not. Some people don't like to post prices because they believe that it's going to scare people away, or people might just be rate shopping. Some people like to post them because they believe that is a consistent customer plan, like that's their policy that they have, that they want to be upfront and open, and they don't want to have any, people the fear that they're going to be, screwed over with pricing. So that's another way to do it as well. But it's really, again, it's up to you whether you post that somewhere or whether somebody emails you and you can send it to them. You could even say, hey, if you'd like to, if you're email me for my rate card, you can do that as well. But it really, again, it's up to you what you want to do based on what your business, what your business ideals are and what your business stands for. Okay? All right. Well, we've talked about a lot. I think the last thing I had on my list, I think I covered it, was, Anthony, why are prices so different across the board? And I think we've covered it. And just, again, why prices are being so different is because we have agencies. I'm going to talk about my shirt in a second. Good gracious. This is some good stuff, people. And all you're talking about is my Star Wars shirt. Good gracious me. All right. Anyways, we've got agencies. We've got entrepreneurs, business owners, single run or one person run businesses that have X amount of cost. So they can determine what they charge. Some people have such a minimal amount of cost that they don't have to charge so much. Some people they found a way to have such a high volume, and Lord knows I've interviewed some of them, have such a high volume of work that they don't need to charge way up here because they enjoy doing that turnover, and they have such an amount of work coming every month that they can do that. Okay? Then you have agencies who have to pay for employees, who have to pay for their business, who have to pay for, operating costs and brick and mortar locations, studios. You've got studios who have to pay for stuff. You've got all these different businesses that have different costs. You have companies who pay marketing companies, marketing companies pay casting companies who find us. There's middleman after middleman after middleman. So you have all of this pricing going on because of all of these different entities now in the game where it didn't used to be. So people are really angry with each other when in reality we shouldn't be, because all of these different availabilities now have just changed the need for a standard pricing, because now it needs to be based on solid business principles. X amount of costs, this is what I want to make in profit. That's what I should charge. Okay? All right, you guys. Boy, this has been a long one. Thank you for sticking around if you have. I really appreciate it. Some people coming and going. I have been watching as I've been talking about people talking about my Star Wars shirt. Yes, I have a Star Wars shirt on. I like Star Wars. And it's a real cool one. It's got like all kinds of different snapshots of different people in the Star Wars empire. All right. So anyways, if you have any questions, go ahead and post it. I want to thank everybody for being here from Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Thank you guys. Let's see. We got Thomas. We got Judy. We got Voices by Storm. We got Angela. We've got Thomas again. Thomas, rate cards can make you more comfortable and quicker in providing quotes for different markets and platforms. Absolutely. Jim, good to see you, buddy. Ayato, good to see you. Asia Blue. Hello, Asia. Let's see. Star Wars shirts. Cost of goods and services. Absolutely. I know we didn't go into it because a lot of, again, this is like straight business stuff. But, also, by the way, if you're not making, your financial statements every month, like your profit and loss statement, like your cash flow statement, it's so important for us to have a cash flow statement. Basically, what cash do we have coming in? What cash is going out? Do you understand? What's your balance sheet say? I tell you, one of the most incredible things I ever did for my business was got serious about filling out my balance sheet. And I tell you, it changed my whole business strategy. And I'll tell you why. Because I realized what my business was actually worth and what it wasn't worth. If you don't know what a balance sheet is your assets, your liabilities, plus your equity, okay? And then it gives you, of course, because it's called a balance sheet, it balances out to zero at the end. But it gives you an idea of the actual worth of your business, okay? Like what assets do you actually have? Like equipment? Do you have any actual tangible products? Do you have intellectual work? If most of us are selling our work off and we don't have that, then we really don't have any intellectual work. You begin to see that our businesses aren't actually worth that much. All right, unless you start creating tangible products or licensing your work or royalties. Royalties are, that goes into the asset column. Anyways, the point is, I didn't get into all that. But this is important stuff for you to understand as business owners, and you need to learn it. You need to learn it, or you're going to be constantly, every single day, underneath this just weight of trying to figure stuff out. Trying to figure out why things aren't working. Trying to figure out why you're not making more money. It all goes hand in hand. One thing over here and another thing over here and another thing over here, they all have to be tended to. Okay? It's important, or the whole thing comes apart. Love the shirt. All right, let's see. Let's finish this up here. Oh, yeah, awesome info on rate cards. Yes, thank you, Voiceover Outlaw. Which, by the way, I love that thing, man, that your little video or whatever, that intro thing of the outlaw picture, and it goes off and like disintegrates or whatever. It's pretty cool. B-Dog at 45. This is kind of off topic, but I got really sick the other day, like bad, debilitating nausea, and made me curious how to handle emergency days off when you have consistent business. Love the shirt. Thanks, Zach. B-Doggy 45. We're going to talk about that. I think that's a great topic to talk about. But you, sir, have opened Pandora's box for service businesses like ours. How do we handle those situations when we're the only one doing the work? we're going to talk about it. I think that's a good conversation for tomorrow. All right, you guys, thank you so much. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. I will talk to you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. See you soon. Happy December. Peace.